Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. And today we're doing some more long-term reviews. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and that was long past time. So we are going to start off. I wanted to do this one a little bit themed, so we're going to start off with some high-end knives, high-end for my channel, and then we're going to go on to some brand-specific knives. We have some Twosun, some Kizers, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get right into this. The first knife we're going to look at is the Bestech Horus. So this is a knife that I reviewed a long time ago, and I've kept around. It's fantastic. I really like this knife. Great usable straight clip point blade. The ergonomics on this knife are among the best I have ever felt on a titanium frame lock. I mean, it just fits into my hand so nicely. You have this really good finger choil up here. The blade is a flat grind, but comes down to a reasonably thin edge. Just a really cool knife. I love the way it looks. I love this. You have kind of like the shiny raw titanium look right here, but then you flip it over and you get this beautiful bronze look. The fitment on the back spacer is nice. You get this nice little area for your finger to land in when you flip it. Nice pivot collar. I love the carbon fiber inserts here. It matches on both sides, the lock side and the show side. The action, very good. You can actually reverse flick it off this fuller. Whoops. Which I failed right there because I'm an idiot. Gosh. Oh, man. There we go. You can reverse flick it off the fuller. The action is good. The detent's a little bit on the lighter side, but I think it's good. This knife, I got this one for $170. S35VN titanium carbon fiber. I think it was absolutely worth it. This is a great knife. Love carrying this. Love using this. Definitely one of my favorite knives ever, actually. One of my favorite knives. Really like it. Great knife. Okay, next, let's go on to the WE Knives Minax. This is another really cool knife. Ferrum forged design. And yeah, I like this knife quite a bit too. The ergonomics on this knife are very good. I actually would not say that they're as good as the Bestech that we just looked at, but they're still very good. I love the milling on the scales. The blade is an actual stonewash. Let's focus on that. A lot of the stuff that WE's been calling a stonewash lately has really just been like a bead blast. This is actually a good stonewash finish. 20 CV blade, which is awesome for edge retention, drop point, recurve. The action on this knife is very good. The reverse flick, this is probably one of the best reverse flickers I have in my collection. Really nice. The knife has broken in really nicely. I've taken this apart, tinkered with it and stuff, used it for months. And the reverse flick is just amazing. The drop is nice and controlled. I like that. The flipping action, I wouldn't say is anything special, but it works. The reverse flick is definitely better in my opinion. When I first got this knife, I saved up and I sold a bunch of knives. This is a $263 knife. And as I've been using it more and stuff, it's a very good knife, but I think $260 is a little bit high. I think this knife, $230 might have been good, but I would definitely consider like the Horus to be much better value. $170, I mean, this is almost $100 more than this knife. And again, 20 CV versus S35VN. Personally, I prefer S35VN. I know some people don't, and I know that 20 CV is more expensive, but I do think this knife is just a little bit too expensive. That being said, check out my review. This is definitely a knife that I enjoy. Love the jimping, the ergos. Cutting performance is good. Yeah, great action. This is definitely a knife that I really do like and is going to stay in my collection for the time being. Next knife. This is the Tuya Envy 3. And this is a knife that I keep trying to sell. Like, I decide that I'm going to sell it, and then I put it in my pocket and carry it for a while, and I fall in love with it again, and I don't want to sell it. The ergonomics, mainly. This is such a comfortable knife. It's a liner lock. We've got inset liners. The scales are this beautiful cross-cut red carbon fiber. It looks like wood. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the milling on it, these little swoops. The clip is nice. The action, I honestly wouldn't say is incredible, but it's a good action. The blade is a compound ground drop point, M390, and yeah, titanium backspacer. This is just a really good knife, and every time, like I said, I've almost sold this a few times, and then I change my mind, I come right back. It just fits my hand so well. I love this little thumb rise here. It's just a really, really good knife. As far as premium liner locks go, this is a good one. This is hard to beat. I really like this knife, so it's going to stick around. The cutting performance is good. It looks fantastic. This was about $230. I think, you know, maybe a little bit high, but you know what? It's like $200. I think would be good for this, but there's definitely a lot of work that went into this knife, and it does show. Beautiful knife, premium materials. I like this knife a lot. Okay, before we get into our get into our Twosuns, real quick, this is the CRKT Tuna. This is a great knife. This is designed by Lucas Burnley. The ergos are really good. It's a frame lock. The steel is 8CR, so nothing special, but very good action on Teflon washers. Great pocket clip. Love the pops of color on the pivot collars and the backspacer. Definitely a very, very nice knife. There are some premium versions of this out there. I've often thought about getting my hands on a couple of them, but never have. But yeah, just overall very, very nice, usable budget EDC. Like this knife a whole lot. Definitely gets a recommend. Okay, so next I want to talk about a bunch of Twosuns. Starting with the Twosun TS49. I reviewed this knife a long time ago in the somewhat young days of the channel. What do I think about it? This is kind of a special knife to me. I don't think I'll ever sell this knife or get rid of it for a couple of reasons. Number one, Twosuns really don't have that much resale value because you get them at such low prices for the materials that, like, I picked this one up for $70. And so if I were to like sell it to someone else, you know, I'd sell it for like either $70 or less than that. So I wouldn't really be getting much out of it. Twosuns are much better as trade options, like throw in a Twosun with some other knives to trade for something. But the other reason I'll probably never sell this is because this is kind of the first knife that I ever like really went out looking for. I really wanted one, and I couldn't find one for a while, and I finally did. So, you know, it has nice memories. As for the knife itself, I like it. The ergos are very nice. It's a very unique knife. I love the way it looks. D2 and titanium. Again, you can find these for like $75, $80. The jimping up here is, it's okay. Really interesting Tonto blade. D2, this is one of their earlier models. The slicing performance isn't the best. It has a pretty thick blade, but definitely good enough for EDC tasks. The flipping action is good. It feels different than modern Twosuns because, again, Twosun TS49. This is an older one, but I love the looks of this knife. I love the feel in hand, and yeah, it is a good knife. And definitely for, you know, $75, I recommend getting one. Really, really cool. This fuller here, you can actually use to reverse flick. Oh, there, I didn't fail it like I did with the Bestech. I've never been too good at thumb flicking it because I get my fingers on a lock bar, but let's see here. Yeah, you can do it. But yeah, really good looking knife. And if you're wanting to get into titanium frame locks, but you don't really have a whole lot of money to spend, this is a great one to go with. Really nice knife. I do like it. Feels a lot more expensive than it is. Feels a whole lot more expensive than it is. Okay, next. The Twosun Dreadnought. I can't remember the number on this one. This is a Jelly Jerry design. Oh, the last one was a Night Morning design. This is a knife that I love the blade on. I love the blade on this knife. This is a very aggressive clip point buoy. Love that blade shape. The ergos are very nice. 14C 28N blade, which is really, really cool. Liner lock. The action is, if I get past the detent ball, very good action. My biggest problem with this knife was these scales were a disgusting brown. Micarta is not very high quality. To kind of offset that a little bit, I dyed them red, and it definitely looks better. Still did not change the fact that the micarta is not the highest quality, but it did make me like this knife a whole lot more. I got this knife for like 40 bucks. Great value. Really big hand-filling knife. There is no liner on this side, so it's very lightweight, but it does still feel capable and good in hand. So yeah, I like this knife a lot. Very interesting knife, very different. I'm a fan of Jelly Jerry designs. In fact, we have 2 more coming up right after this. But yeah, good, cool knife. That micarta was just hideous. It was horrendous. It was. If you get one of these, I definitely recommend finding aftermarket scales or dyeing them like I did. In fact, I'm still on the lookout for aftermarket scales on this guy. The other thing too, the Twosun budget clip is not my favorite. It's yeah, not my favorite, but whatever. Okay, let's go on to the next Jelly Jerry design. This is the Ghost. Yeah. Really, really nice knife. I love the milling on the titanium. Carbon fiber is pretty good. Twosun does a good job of carbon fiber. The inlay fitment is not the best, but I got this knife for 80 bucks. Blade seals 14C. Love that. The action is very nice. You get a hole for reverse flick, which works well. Get this very aggressive pointy flipper tab. Works well. And then you can front flip it, but the front flipper is my least favorite way to deploy this knife. Still, if you like it, you have 3 opening options, which is absolutely wonderful. I think that's really great. The blade is a performer for sure. It's a drop point, so you get all that good drop pointness. The grind is nice. The knife itself carries very well too. It's a pretty slim knife, honestly. And yeah, I do like this knife quite a bit. I haven't carried this one for a while, but you know what? I think it's going in my pocket right now. This is a pretty cool knife. I'm a big fan of it. Big, big fan. Definitely can get a recommendation from me. The clip isn't the best. I remember that just now as I put it back in my pocket. The clip is not the best. Okay, let's go on to the next knife. The Twosun Megalodon. I love this knife. This is an absolutely wonderful knife. This one costs about 135 bucks. Beautiful, beautiful carbon fiber. Beautiful milling on the titanium. Beautiful hardware. Oh, man. Just looks fantastic. The clip is excellent. This is probably the best Twosun clip I've ever experienced. Very, very nice. M390 blade. Great action. You can reverse flick it, which is my go-to for this knife. This is also a really easy knife. Oh my gosh. To thumb flick. Sometimes when you get behind a camera, guys, things just don't go the way you want. But very good action, and you can front flip it. Much easier front flipper than the last knife we looked at. Usually I'm not a big fan of big front flippers, but this one I like. And again, having that second deployment method is awesome. The ergos on this knife are just so good. This knife fits in your hand really well. This is a really unique Tonto blade. It is a performer for sure. You can definitely slice, you can choke up in here a little bit. You have a nice robust tip. I like this knife for a whole lot of different EDC tasks. My biggest complaint with this knife is that the blade to handle ratio is quite a bit off. You've got like that much handle that is just kind of there. You can see that. But honestly, it's not a big deal, especially when you get such hand-filling ergos. Definitely a knife I can recommend all day, every day. Love it. And the fact that it's called the Megalodon. Love that so much. Yeah, great design from Jelly Jerry. Really, really like it. And the last Twosun we have up is a Mazwan Mokdar design. This is a Twosun TS301. And this is probably my favorite Twosun. I love this knife. Again, it has that amazing clip point blade. I love these buoy blades. The ergos are very neutral. Love that you can get your finger up in here. 14C28N. Micarta, that's not the best, but it's also not terrible. Carbon fiber bolster. Access to the liner is not the best, honestly. But the action is phenomenal. The thumb studs are also the blade stops, which is really cool. Great geared backspacer. Just a really excellent looking knife. Love the way this knife looks, and it performs so well. This 14C28N blade comes down to like a razor thin edge. This will slice for days. This is a knife that cut my finger. You can still see. I tell the story every time I have this knife on screen. That scar right there came from this knife, and I still don't have feeling in like parts of my finger, but that's okay. That's okay because this knife is so cool. I had to forgive it. I mean, a titanium frame lock, liner lock, whatever you want to call this, it's excellent. I cannot recommend this knife enough. About $100 for these. Great work knife. I carry this all the time. I call this the cowboy frame lock, or the cowboy Twosun knife, because it really does remind me of something that, you know, someone might carry out in the Wild West. The buoy blade, the carbon fiber, and micarta give me kind of, I don't know, I think this is a titanium frame lock for a cowboy, or titanium liner lock, whatever you want to call it. My biggest complaints, again, the access to the lock bar isn't the best. This little cutout in the carbon fiber here, you know, that's just a place for dirt and debris to get caught in. Not a huge fan of that. The clip isn't the best, but it's also not the worst, so I give it a slide. Fit and finish is excellent. Just, love this knife so much. Yeah, this one's never going anywhere. This is another knife that took me a while to hunt down. It took me a while to get one of these. I think they're available on Amazon right now, but fantastic knife. Absolutely wonderful. Brings me a lot of joy. Okay, so to close this up, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of Kizers. The first one we'll talk about is the Kizer Lieb. I said in the review of this knife, and I stand by it, this is a fantastic fifth pocket carry, might even be one of the best ever. This blade shape is really, really useful. I'd call this a sheep's foot blade, a modified sheep's foot. Reminds me a lot of the Kershaw bare knuckle, which is a fantastic knife, but very, very useful. The action on this has got to be one of the best tuned detents ever. This fantastic detent. The action is phenomenal. The clip is really, really nice. The micarta is very nice. Love the blue pivot collar. N690 blade. That's a perfectly fine performer in the budget category, about $55 for these. This knife has very, very early lockup. And on a 5th pocket carry like this, you're not going to be using it too hard. It's not a huge deal. It also has significant lock stick. And these were all issues that I brought up in the original review. They have not gone away. They have not gotten better. And I really don't trust this lockup. Again, on a little 5th pocket carry knife like this, a backup knife, it doesn't bother me a whole lot, but I have had bad experiences with Kizers that have very early lockup and bad lock stick where the locks will just fail and yeah, badness ensues. So, you know, that's definitely, in my opinion, the biggest negative of this knife. But other than that, fantastic knife. Really, really love it. Good 5th pocket carry. And to round out this list, the Kizer Slicer. Oh boy, where do I even start with this knife? So this is a budgety version. This is about $75. Kizer's budget line tend to be like high-end budget. This is like right at, I consider budget knives to be anything under $75. This is right there at the limit. This knife and I have a love-hate relationship. We really do. Oh gosh. Where do I start? So first off, I think it's a great looking knife. I think the designer, Michael Galovic, yeah, I think he did a great job. This looks fantastic. Love the looks of this knife. The ergos are amazing. Get a nice little ramp here. Very good ergos. And it lives up to its name as the slicer. This N690 blade comes down to a very nice thin edge and it just blazes through material. Very, very good performer. The G10 is wonderful. I think Kizer uses really good G10. I love the way it looks. The spine of the blade is crowned. The pocket clip is probably one of the best pocket clips I have ever experienced. It's sunk in there, flat screws, long, nicely shaped, doesn't mess with your hand when you're holding the knife. Fantastic pocket clip. A+ clip. However, I do wish it was reversible because this is a backlock knife, which is fully ambidextrous and it has dual thumb studs. And with that, let's start talking about the negatives. This is not a fidgety knife, which I don't really care about, but you have a half stop, and then it locks up, and closing it, the disengagement of the backlock is not very satisfying. And then closing it's definitely a two-handed affair. The thumb studs are very sharp as well, and just unpleasant. I wish that was different. And the disassembly, when I disassembled this knife, it gave me more trouble than just about any knife ever. And I have videos all about a bunch of that, but in the end, this is a knife that I really like this knife. But I don't recommend it to a lot of people because, you know, I just don't think it's the right knife for a whole lot of people at all. But that's just me. If you like this knife, if you don't mind, you know, the half stop and stuff, maybe you will be like me and this will become a knife that you really, really enjoy. But that's going to be it for this long-term review video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got anything out of the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. If you didn't like the video, tell me why in the comments. And yeah, I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one.